Hi everyone out in the void, I'm Zach, this is the Shaken Fist, and today we're carrying on with Trent Horn. If you don't already know, there are going to be no more streams this year, unless I do one for my birthday maybe. I announced this yesterday on my last stream, so that's fun. It's because I'm planning on doing a bunch of new shit next year and I want to prepare, bottom of the barrel. Want to do that once a month. A Religion Unraveled, want to do that once a month. Gonna go through a Ray Comfort and a Kirk Cameron textbook, so that should be fun. And I want to talk about Discworld as well, because I want to start talking about things I like instead of just things that I hate. So that's cool. And I've started Discord. If you want to see me fail on there, because it's going wonderfully. Why don't you go join me over there? Going to be like, that's where I'm going to start watching films with people and everything. So that's cool. I don't really have much else to say. So let's just get on with the show so I can get this over with and we don't have to talk about him anymore. For a while, anyway, you know what I mean? Let's... onward. How excited am I? Very.
On the other hand, I worry that atheists who lean too much into the God of the Gaps objection, they'll end up making atheism as unfalsifiable as some religions.
Yeah, some religions are more falsifiable than others, and you've drawn your line, and I bet you've put your side accordingly, haven't you? Some religions are more falsifiable than others. Oh, fun. Fun, fun, fun. No, it's only just started.
Or they won't be able to answer this question. What would prove God exists?
Atheists say that God should be provable all the time. It's Christians that don't say it. And then when atheists say, actually, here's what would prove to me that God exists. Oh, you can't think that. You're the ones that deny it us, unless you were born into an atheistic family, oh, that JCO dickhead was going, oh, you guys never change your minds. Like, yeah, we do. We have to change our mind to become an atheist most of the time. But hey, we're the ones that are so disingenuous that we could never change our minds, right? Because we were the ones that were brainwashed, remember? So it's like I said to JCO the other day. I don't know, it's almost like if I woke up in the morning after praying for multiple arms so I could be like Machamp. And I woke up with multiple arms and I had no signs of radiation or mutation or anything like that. Well, then yes, I would totally believe that it was God. But the thing is, we're supposed to be like this diehard atheist like a Matt Dillahunter. Oh, God would just know. And, God would know. Right? Or you're like fucking Dawkins. No, nothing can convince me. But the problem is right, it's almost like he's goading you into believing, right? Because you're supposed to get your little fifis in a twist and you're supposed to go, oh, I could change my mind. So in fact, I will. You see, because we're supposed to be so stubborn that I will change my mind.
Hey guys, you guys know how to dance, right?
Of course we know how to dance.
Cool, because there's this competition on Saturday. My friends can't do it because they suck ass, so will you be in my dance troupe?
I'm not doing it. Being in a dance group is totally conformist.
Yeah, I'm not conforming to some dance-off regulations.
I'm not doing it either. I'm the biggest nonconformist of all.
I'm such a nonconformist that I'm not going to conform with the rest of you. Okay, I'll do it.
Great!
Well, I think we just got put in our place.
Yeah, we just got goth served.
Because, they're so convinced that because they're like, I'm so stubborn, I won't change my mind, that we must be as well, right? It's almost like if God did a miraculous thing, it would make me believe in God. Like, yes, if they rearrange the stars, it could be aliens, but it's more likely to be God than it is aliens. It's almost like we would have seen aliens by now if they were going to do something like that. Point is he wants you to feel bad that other people are more hardcore than other atheists, right? So if some atheist says that nothing can change their mind, right? Well, then you're supposed to feel abashed for them on their behalf, because he's a Catholic and they feel shame for everything.
All great religions are built on shame. You don't have any of that if you're Protestant. You go to the church, you sing a few hymns, have a cup of tea, everybody goes home and has a wank. You see, you have the freedom of mind to walk into a room and see a plate of biscuits, say, and you look at them and you think, well, there's a plate of biscuits. I might have a biscuit, I might not, I might have one later. I don't really mind, it's just a biggie. It's not like that if you're Catholic. You walk in the room, you see the plate of biscuits, there could be other things going on in the room. The room could be on fire. Doesn't matter to you because all you see is the plate of biscuits. Because you think, oh no, I'm going to eat them. I know I am. I'm going to eat them. I'm even walking towards them. I wasn't aware of that, but I am now. I've actually started to eat the biscuits. Help me, help me. Oh, they're delicious. Oh, the shame, the shame, the shame. Oh, I can't tell which is nicer. The biscuit or the shame. It's a child's biscuit. That's perfect. I don't deserve a grown-up one. Oh, they're so nice. Now they're all gone. The shame, the shame. That's all I've got left.
A few examples I've heard from atheists include healing an amputated limb through prayer, rearranging the stars to say God exists, or discovering on the human genetic code that our genetic code says made by Yahweh on it. Evan Vales says that if all the stars realign to spell the words Mene Mene Tekel Uparshin, which is what God wrote on the wall at Belshazzar's feast in the book of Daniel, then, quote, that would convince me of theism or polytheism. No other explanation is remotely plausible. Doug from the Pine Creek channel says that since the prophet Elijah could call down fire to light a soaked sacrifice in the book of Kings, and he could one-up the prophets of Baal by doing that, then Christians should be able to prove Christianity is true by just setting a wet napkin on fire through prayer.
Nah, a real scientific-minded person like myself would say things like, hey, if it's good enough for Elijah and it's good enough for the Canaanites to prove the difference between Yahweh and Baal, then it is a usable test that we should be able to replicate, isn't it? So we should be able to get a bull each, and we should kill that bull each, and we should sacrifice one to Baal and one to Yahweh, and it was at a high place, it wasn't at the temple. So then we can sacrifice them and then pray to our respective gods and see which one gets set on fire. But the thing is it's in the Bible, right? Twats like this get really antsy when you start bringing up stuff like that in the Bible, right? Because you're not supposed to want to do that, are you? Because it's a bull. You don't want to kill a nice little fluffy bull.
We're here to force you to face your victims. Meet your meat.
What the hell?
Her name is Melissa.
Moo.
And atheists are supposed to be nicer people than Christians, remember? You know, because we're supposed to be the ones that, like, you know, care more because we think this is the only time and place and will exist, and we're not just preparing for an everlasting bit of glory and niceness where all we have to do is believe hard enough and convince others. So, like, you know, we're not supposed to want to do that. So if we say things like that, it's supposed to seem flippant, right? And they want to put it across as flippant, like, oh, he just said we could set some bulls on fire. But that's the thing, it's in your Bible, and it's what God did. So if he did it once, why can't he do it again?
Spooky language. Spooky language. Designed to scare and control primitive people.
It's almost like it would be a testable, repeatable experiment that you could add variations to. Like, you could pray for Yahweh, and I could pray for Baal, and then if Yahweh sets the bull on fire, well, then we could get 2 new bulls, and then I could pray to Baal, right? Because Baal didn't happen, so I become the control, right? And then we could pray to Doest and see if that happens. Or we could pray to El Shaddai and see if that happens, because it's his other name, you see? And then we could do El, you know. We could do, I don't know, Zeus, Ra, Marduk, you know, Inanna, Enki. We could go through all the gods and we could see which bulls get set on fire by which gods as a variation. And the more bulls that get set fire by names of Yahweh and don't get set fire by names of Yahweh would actually eliminate forms of bias, wouldn't it? Like the scientific process says.
Now, some of the examples are better than others, but they all share the same flaw. I would ask the non-believers who offer these examples, why would these particular things convince you that God exists? I suspect ultimately this is the reasoning. I don't know what caused a limb to be healed, or the stars to move, or the napkin to catch fire. I can't imagine a natural cause. Therefore, God must have done it. In other words, they commit the God of the gaps fallacy in their hypothetical evidence.
Idiot. No. So maybe with the stars one, that would be a better example of that, I suppose. But when you pray for the napkin to set on fire or the bowl, you are praying to God. It's not unnatural. If you're praying to God and asking for it specifically, and it's a miraculous thing, it's not 3 random number generators spitting out the numbers and you winning the lottery 3 times, because that's the same thing, right? I know that Dogecoin went up after I had to pray. It's so dumb. I pray. Mom changed his story so often. It's silly. Anyway. Yes, I did choose this video to also make fun of JCO Journey and that horrific talk we had, because I didn't enjoy that in the slightest. But what was I saying? So when you pray to God for something miraculous, and actually miraculous, not something that can just be done by men, like man, and by men I mean human beings, like, yes, I would then expect that to be more likely to be God, because I prayed for it specifically. I prayed for that napkin to set on fire. I prayed to God to set that bowl on fire. You know what I mean? I had a setting where I was having someone pray to Baal, and I was having someone pray to Yahweh to set the bowls on fire.
Beg pardon?
So the cause and effect would be, wouldn't it? Because man didn't do that. You know, unless you're like fucking Darren Brown or some shit doing some fucking, you know, magic, or Penn and Teller or whatever, doing some fucking magic tricks to Copperfield and the like. You know what I mean? But other than that, what else can it be? So if you're doing a legitimate test, so if me and Trent here sat down and tried to burn bulls together, and he prayed for Yahweh and I prayed for Baal, and his set on fire, why wouldn't that make me believe in God? Because he prayed to a specific God and it's set on fire, and it doesn't do that otherwise. It is an unnatural act that happened because of the act of prayer. It's not something silly like, hey, I pray that God would speak to me, and then I was in a place that was playing incidental music. It made me get into these certain mindsets that can make things like that happen or whatever. There is reasons to be skeptical of some things and not to be skeptical of others. So like in my example with JCO Journey, you don't just grow 2 new arms for no reason and you would sleep through it as well? Like that just doesn't happen, right? So the idea that, well, we don't have a naturalistic explanation, so it should be God, doesn't mean that it's God of the gaps. Because if I'm praying for the bull to be burned, if I'm praying for the extra arms, or if I'm praying for the fucking regrowth of a limb, because how often do limbs of human beings just regrow naturally?
Never. And nor have you.
I know they have a mini regrowth thing. That's why you don't scar when you cut yourself all the time, you see? Because we have a limited amount of actual regeneration in us. And we have found ways to make that further. But those are still man-made processes and not God. I also suspect that he's using similar reasons like this and not talking about the fact that you've prayed for them, even though you would do in those situations, to try and muddy the argument to go oh, look, they just think that things that happen are weird to God. And it's no. Those effects would be after someone prayed for them. And I'm willing to bet that those examples also have those people saying that they're willing to pray for them first. Especially in the Elijah one, considering that's the whole point of the story.
I don't know what caused X, therefore God exists.
So what I'm actually hearing is, under this mindset, there should be no reason that you should ever believe any piece of evidence about God. An atheist wouldn't do that anyway, right? Because we're all a bunch of evil heathens that just want to sin or whatever bullshit they make up to make themselves feel better at night about people laughing at them for their beliefs.
Here's a blatant example of this from my debate with atheist Dan Barker. When I asked Barker what would convince him to give up atheism, he said that if I prayed and told him what was written inside an envelope he had on stage with him, then he would believe God exists. He also claimed that since God is all-knowing, I could pray to God, and God would tell me what's written on the card.
The problem with that is that God answers prayers very intermediately and doesn't give solid answers. That's why they have to say things like, I was really wondering if I should leave my abusive spouse, and then I saw a leaf blow across the road, and that was the Lord telling me that I should leave him, you see, because the leaf was leaving. The leaf was leaving, you see. See? God always talks to people in very stupid ways. So, JCO Journey was saying, hey, what we're gonna do, what I prayed to God, and I wanted God to, like, tell me whether to play my PS4 or not anymore. So the next day someone stole it. Like, I prayed to God. I didn't want to go to Southern Florida. I know I told Michael Beverly that I did, and I needed about $3,500 to go to Florida or something like that. Hey. So I need that money. So I prayed to God for the money, and then Shiba Coin went up. And then when I spoke to him, well, actually, I didn't. Who wants to go to Southern Florida? I didn't want to go to Southern Florida. That would be selfish. No, I was praying to God to ask God if I should go to Southern Florida and if I should go to Southern Florida any money. So he made Dogecoin get up. It's weird how that sort of proof for you Christian fucks is 100% okay. I suppose it doesn't have anything to do with having 4 gospels that don't really relate to each other, having 2 flood myths, having 2 creation myths, having a lot of 2 different stories of a lot of different stuff. So, being a little duplicitous in your storytelling and picking which side matters more at the time. I suppose it's just kind of written in there. Yay! Right? But when an atheist goes, hey, God is omnipotent and should be able to tell you through answered prayer what is the answer in this, and in a debate setting, you should be able to do that if your God consistently talks to you. I didn't watch the whole fucking debate. I don't know specifically what he says. I just know what this guy clips into it, and I know how these guys cherry pick quotes. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was some other things or whatever. But the point still stands. The guy is asking you to ask God directly, right? So you're saying that this guy, by asking this, doesn't believe in any psychokinetic powers because it's fucking Dan Barker. Jesus fucking Christ. So this guy doesn't believe in fucking, psychokinetic powers and shit like that and telecommunications of the mind and all that. You know what I mean? So if you were able to just tell him what was on that thing and he would believe it, it's not just a debate tactic. It's an obvious question. The question isn't pointing out God of the gaps. It's pointing out divine hiddenness. Why does God talk to some people and not others? And why does God only talk to people about nebulous things that are about selfish things about them? And when it comes to very pointed things that would prove his existence, he's always fucking quiet. And knobheads like this have got to come up with shitty videos like this to point out, well, God doesn't have to talk to me if he doesn't want to.
Here is my reply. So let me understand. We have 15 seconds left. If Jesus appeared and performed a miracle for you, you would ask God to apologize. But if I could do a magic trick, you would become a Christian.
It's not a magic trick, Trent.
You gotta love the false equivalency there, don't you? Did you hear what he said? Let's just listen to what Trent said, right?
If Jesus appeared and performed a miracle for you, you would ask God to apologize. But if I could do a magic trick, you would become a Christian.
Because, if Jesus does a miracle, that's one thing. And if God does a miracle, that's another. Because you want to make one seem lowly, so it's a mere magic trick. And the other one is a miracle from Jesus. That's one of the 2 things that you should have noticed there. You do realize, idiot, that both of those things aren't mutually exclusive. You can still demand, apologies from God while believing in him and being a Christian. Idiot. What, you think Christians don't ever want God to apologize for bad things that have happened in their life? And that's why Christian fucks have got to come up with stupid shit like Calvinism to make sense of why bad things happen to people? Because the problem of evil is too much for you guys, and, well, God wouldn't do bad things, but bad things happen all the time. So actually, the bad things happen to you to teach you a lesson. It's almost like those 2 views aren't mutually exclusive, and saying that there's only 15 seconds left, so I've got to be quick, belies the fact that you're trying to make a snappy point that doesn't make any sense. Because he's a Christian apologist, and Christian apologists give more of a shit about winning an argument than actually being fucking correct. Because if they had any proof about anything they fucking go on about, they wouldn't need to talk about fucking arguments. We don't need to make arguments about oxygen atoms and electrons and protons and neutrons. We could just point to why they're real. We can show you them. We can show you their effects. It's not an argument, it's what they do. But with God, well, can you think of a really powerful God? Yeah, well then if you can, well then it's real, because you thought of it, because it's all human-centered. Hey, we're all here for a reason, right? And that reason is God. See? Because we're here. Everything exists at a certain constant so we can exist. See, because we exist. It's weird how they keep on relying on arguments that is so basically self-interested. It's disgusting. Hey, come on, why don't you just believe? Well, it's the worst that could happen. Self-centered bullshit. And when people ask for proof, you got to say stupid shit like, hey, how dare you say that if you turned up and did a miracle, you would ask for a fucking apology, and if you did this trick with a thing, then hey, you'll be a Christian. You could do both.
I mean, suppose I really did guess what was written on the envelope, inside the envelope.
Suppose you really did pray to Jesus, and Jesus really did tell you what was on the envelope. Instead of just guessing. Because he wasn't asking you to guess, idiot. That's just you changing what he said because you know that your followers are going to give a shit more about what you said than he did. Because it's not a leading argument at all, is it? It's not being disingenuous at all, is it? Why is it that we're supposed to think that these Christian fucks are so pristine and holy for being so fucking disingenuous all the time? Do these cunts ever actually think maybe my disingenuousness and bad arguments and lies and just straight up messing around with the facts actually turns people away from my religion? No, of course not. Because they think they're sent by God and have all the godly zeal. So everything they do is perfectly cool and ordained with God because God ordained it to begin with. And, you're either going to do it because of fate or, God ordained it to begin with and you're going to do it anyway because you're going to use your free will to do what God wants you to do. Or the devil made you do it, because God does the good things and the devil does bad things, and you do nothing because you're a worthless piece of shit that has no inherent worth, can't do any good, can't do any bad. Well, actually, you can do all the bad, except for when the devil's helping you. You can't do any good, though, because all goodness in the universe is purely the Lord's, and you can never do anything good, you mediocre piece of shit. Why do you want to aspire to be better and know things? Just believe what I fucking say, right?
It's something that I call analytic perfectionism. And you may have it. Let me read to you from Proverbs 3 verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, there's what to do. And then it says that warning, and lean not to your own understanding. And saying, don't try and figure things out. Just trust the Lord like a little child trusts their father. Don't even question it.
By the way, can you tithe?
Would Dan Barker convert? No way.
See? But what if he did? That's the problem. You're just assuming that he wouldn't because he's on the opposite side, right? And because he's on the opposite side, well, they're the disingenuous ones, right? So if they say, give us some proof and then tell you how to do it and you don't want to do it, well, then you still get to be the righteous one. Well, no, they just wasn't going to do it to begin with, were they?
When an atheist tells me, if you just gave me the evidence, I'd believe, I go, uh-huh. That's not how your brain works.
Because you, Trent fucking Horn, have all the empirical knowledge of everyone's brains and what would and what wouldn't make them believe in God, don't you? You fucking asshole.
Moreover, I've never ever been an atheist, and I'm completely aware this is going to sound smug, even though I don't mean it that way. Right. But the reality is, I think I understand the arguments for and defenses of atheist positions better than most atheists I know. And I'm probably older than you are. So, ease up there, Ace. Everyone's tempted to think they're an expert.
Reminds me, I was in, because I'm filming this on the 15th on Tuesday, I was in Michael Beverly's stream in chat last night while he was talking to someone, and fucking Johnny Knobhead Braxton Hunter comes in. Oh, well, he's all right, but he's not good enough yet. These people think they're like some wise, aged masters that have been sat on top of a mountain contemplating everything for 35 years, waiting for just one guy to come up and go, Kimosabe, sensei, tell us the ways of the world. Right? And then they get to dispense their knowledge on high because these fucks know better. Because they're so fucking smug, they can tell what other people are thinking before they fucking do it. Because, hey, I'm a Christian, right? And my counterfactual means more than anything they'd say because you're watching my channel, right?
He'd think, well, maybe it was a lucky guess. Or maybe before the debate, when he was distracted, I opened the envelope, I read it, and then I resealed it. That would be way more likely than a miracle. I mean, look what happened when actor Harrison Ford picked a card out of a deck from magician David Blaine. And Blaine then pulled that card out of an orange in Ford's kitchen. Did Harrison Ford say, oh my gosh, you're divine, or oh my gosh, God exists? No, he said this.
Get the out of my house.
What you mean? Acclaimed actor Harrison Ford, who's known for acting and putting on fake personas and fake emotions, got contacted by one magician, David Blaine, who does, you know, aside from, he does stunts now, but back in the day he used to do all the magic tricks, right? You know, he's a street magician and all that. So that street magician then contacted an actor about a magic trick he wanted to do in his house. Of course he didn't start believing in magic, because the whole premise is that it isn't real and you're supposed to be shocked by it and you get paid more for better reactions. Do you like how when they're talking about shit like this, they have to go to David Blaine and like stuff like that? Do they not see how it kind of discredits what they're fucking saying? It's weird how Harrison Ford didn't believe the magician that says he's a magician and doesn't do actual magic. Weird how he didn't suddenly start thinking it was real. The whole point of that stunt, you stupid prick, is to show that you just won't do it, and it will come up with stupid reasons why you won't do it, instead of just doing it. Because you know it won't fucking happen. That's the whole fucking point.
Dum, 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 dum. Or at best, Dan would think that I have some unknown natural or supernatural power to read hidden messages.
Oh my god.
But not that God exists.
Is that because that's what he'd do? Or is it because that's what you want to insinuate that he would do because he was not on your side and you're trying to put him off as disingenuous at literally any point you can? Yeah, why would that guy ask for proof and then, like, say he did? Say he put anti-de-establishmentarianism on there, right? And you said, "Oh Lord, who art in heaven, I know I shouldn't be asking you for stuff like this, but I'd really like to pwn this atheist right now in front of everyone and maybe make believers of people that are watching. Could you just tell me what's in there?" Right? And you say, "Anti-de-establishmentarianism." And then he goes, "It is? Shit. I guess I'm a believer now." What happens then? But the thing is you don't want to give him that chance because there's too much of it. Like, so, you know, in JCO's words, why don't you give me actual numbers? So let's just say that there's a 50% chance, right, of him changing his mind. And there's a 50% chance that it ain't going to happen at all. And I don't mean him changing his mind, that you are not going to say the word anti-de-establishmentarianism, right? Why would that be? Why would you not want to do it? Because there is too much of a chance of you not getting an answer. So don't take the risk and think of 50 reasons of why he wouldn't have done it to make you seem more righteous and why you shouldn't have fallen into his stupid trap anyway. Instead of, like, looking honestly at yourself and going, well, if I pray for other things, when I prayed for money, he gave it me. I prayed for answers to this logical problem and he gave it me. Blah, 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 blah. I prayed for guidance. Blah, 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 blah. It's always okay for all that stuff that's very tangible to only you and not to other people. Because, you know, for some reason we have to test out everything but God. Isn't that fun? It's not the God of gods at all. Not at all.
In that debate, it was amazing to me that Dan Barker just hand-waved away my philosophical arguments for the existence of God.
Almost, because it's almost like your philosophical arguments for why God is real don't fucking matter. And they've been failing for 2,000 years. It's almost like every time you go, well, there's you know, Anselm made this argument, and, you know, Aquinas made this argument. It's almost like it doesn't convince people anymore, because we're talking about people that didn't know about atoms, cells, DNA, you know, gravity, the weak and strong force, electromagnetism, quarks, up quarks, down quarks, you know, like photons, you know, the actual essence of stars and what they are, like what atoms they're made of, their processes, nebula, black holes, you know, it's almost like they didn't know about gamma ray bursts, quasars, and, like, you know, the superheated vents at the bottom of the ocean, you know, that have crabs and other tube worms living in them that have been there for time upon time. It's almost like they didn't know about the various pillars of fucking bacteria that have just been living, shitting in this one place for billions of years, and they've made so much shit you can see them. The giant, like, I wouldn't say giant, the giant for fucking bacteria pillars of like 4 or 5 feet tall. Like, they didn't know about all the things we know now, and we know that all this stuff is bullshit because we've learned further things. So it's almost like philosophical arguments only answer philosophical questions, and whether God is real and is the creator of the universe is a real material one. And it's like I said to JCO, and I've said several times before, saying your God is supernatural doesn't get him out of any of the answers. Because if God made the world, and God made people do stuff, and God is tangible enough for people to speak to him on a personal, interpersonal basis, if the Holy Spirit moves through you first, or whatever bullshit you believe in, right? Then he's natural. He's not supernatural, and he should be super testable. And these people only say such things because they don't want you to think such things. Because if you start thinking he is testable, then when you think about how the ways you can test him and he doesn't answer any, then I don't know, maybe you'd start to disbelieve, and they can't be having that. That's why it's the onus is on us to not have a God of the gaps argument, even though we don't have a God. And that's why it's up to us to have all the proof and evidence, even though we have fucking shit tons and they have none.
So there was only one real evidence that Trent offered tonight. The rest is just words. And I think you know what that is. The rest is just philosophy and talking words.
But then he said that if I could perform a magic trick, he'd believe that God exists.
Hey, asshole! It's not a magic trick. If you pray to God and God gives you an answer, it's not magic. It's God. You knowing that God, you praying to God, right? And you getting an actual answer is fucking magic, because it wouldn't happen. So the fact that you keep on trying to muddy the waters about this, saying it's a fucking magic trick, exactly shows that you know why it wouldn't work. So you're trying to make people think bad about thinking about why it wouldn't work, because it's just a magic trick, right?
So I think this shows we have a double standard among some atheists, specifically among those who dismiss classical arguments for God as essentially saying, I don't know, therefore God. They dismiss all the classic proofs. I don't know, therefore God.
Pascal's wager. Why don't you just believe what you got to lose? The other problem with all these philosophical arguments is none of them point to your fucking God, asshole. Not one of them. Not the Kalam, not the fucking not the Kalam cosmological argument, not the ontological argument, not fucking Anselm's argument. None of them. Not fucking one of them point to your God specifically. They don't point to any God specifically. All they point to is a creator God. So that can also mean a pantheistic God or a deistic God. But we're supposed to hear these arguments coming from someone such as yourself, and we're supposed to be so moved from the inside. Oh my God, I can't believe I didn't see it before. It's so fucking dumb. That's why it's all words, because it doesn't point to your God. You think it points to your God because you're a fucking Christian. You just won't accept that actually all of these arguments could point to an Islamic God, that could point to any God, really.
Lies, lies, and more lies, and lies on top of lies.
But he was born in a time and a place, raised by a certain set of people, so it must be, all the arguments must be based towards that, right?
But then they say you could prove God exists through one of their hypothetical examples, like guessing a card in an envelope, which is also a case of I don't know, therefore God.
Not when they say pray to God and get him to tell you, idiot. It's just, little Mr. Horn's got his little fifis in a twist. He's got all butthurt because someone said, do the simplest act of proving. And you couldn't do that, and you knew you couldn't do it. And you got embarrassed, and you felt bad, right? Because you did it in front of a bunch of people, right? And you do a YouTube channel, and you go around talking in front of people all the time, so you should be better at this. So you felt bad. So now you had to come home, and you had to make this video, and you had to poo-poo this idea, right? Because, maybe it was even a little bit later, and so you said something, one of the God of the Gaps arguments, somebody used it against you, and then you got all your invective up because you could remember Dan Barker saying similar things, and then it makes me look dumb. Oh, it's their fault. Oh, it's on them. They're doing their own God of the Gaps. Look, I'm holding up a mirror. You're doing what I'm doing. It's called mirroring.
I mean, what's the difference between an amputated limb coming into existence from nothing, proving God exists, and a universe coming into nothing, coming into being from nothing?
So once again, for no reason. Let's just stop it there. Because the thing's too long, and if I just make 2-hour-long videos, then nobody will watch them all. So, next time, we'll still be talking about this. And I won't be streaming this Sunday. So I'll see you next Wednesday. Goodbye, everybody!